Hello, today, sort of like the last video I made, is gonna be kind of like a dual-parter. So I'm gonna do a quick little vlog. So I filmed some of my shopping experience at like a local half-price bookstore. I might do like a voiceover for that. Hopefully that works out right. I'm filming this beforehand before I edit that, because the footage wasn't that long and I didn't want to upload like a 4-minute video because I thought, like, what's the point? So to add on top of that, I wanted to do a quick little introduction. First off, that I was going to do a vlog, and second of all, I thought I would show some of my favorite queer books since it's June. So I'll start out with that. These are not just favorites, these are just the ones that like I could find around my room. I have more that like are just throughout the house, and I didn't really think I had enough to go on like a proper hunt for them all. So these are just ones that I sort of found around in my room, so they're the ones that I'll show off. So yeah, I will get started. The first I'll show you is These Violent Delights by Micah Nemerever. Sorry, I don't know why that took so long for me to pronounce. Micah Nemerever. As you can see, I have tabbed quite a few of these. I spoke about this in a different video, but I don't like sticky notes really, and I don't usually like to write in any of my books except for like classics, but I use these little things called book tarts, which I get from Amazon, but I think you can also get them at like local indie bookstores and stuff will have them. But yeah, so they're just like metallic tabs, and I just stick them where I want to like remember. I think it's kind of fun to not write notes about what I wanted to remember. I like to try to like figure it out for myself, like go back and be like, why did I tab this? So yeah, and I really usually tab books that I love. I read this book back in, I want to say 2022. You might be getting this title confused with a different book with the same title by a different author. There's another book called These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, I believe, and that's I think a young adult romantasy book, I think. Or maybe it's just fantasy, I'm not sure, but that is a different book. This book was, I think, in the horror section when I got it, but it's so good. So to give you like a quick synopsis, I'm not usually very good at these, but it's set in 1970s Pittsburgh, and we follow our main character's name is Paul, and he's just entered university, and he sort of starts to form this toxic-ish relationship slash friendship slash situationship with this boy named Julian, who's very like charismatic. Paul is definitely neurodivergent, and just as their friendship sort of deepens and darkens, it very much turns into a dark academia type of book. There's elements of horror, death, murder, obsession. Like if you love toxic, obsessive gay relationships, like this is for you, and it's very good. It's very close to my heart. It left me traumatized, so I have not reread it because like the emotional toll it would have on me is significant. But I love this book very much. So this is the first book. And also, I don't have a lot of paperbacks, so it's nice to finally be able to show off a paperback for once. There's quotes in here that like, ugh, like it's such a smart novel, and I believe it's written by a trans author. Yeah, Micah studied art history and queer theory. Yeah, it's just, he's an excellent writer, and I think he's been writing other stuff recently, but hasn't published anything yet. But like, I need a new book by Micah. Like, I need it now because this was really, really good. One of my favorites. So starting out with a win, and we're keeping up with that momentum because the next book is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is excellence. This is pure excellence. So I'm sure you've heard of this book. It's a very unique premise and writing style. Like, I've never read another book that's kind of written in this style, with this sense of like whiplash humor mixed with gothic space opera necromancy vibes. Like, it's kind of a combination of various elements that I would never have imagined reading about, but it was so good. So this is the first book in the Locked Tomb saga. Books 1 through 3 are out right now. It's Gideon the Ninth, Harrow the Ninth, and Nona the Ninth. The premise for this is a bit much, but basically you follow Gideon, who's in the ninth house, and she's sort of trapped there. She was raised like an orphan there, and she has a nemesis with the house leader, whose name is Harrow. And Harrow is a very, very good necromancer. And so they sort of are forced into the situation where they have to align. Like, Harrow needs Gideon, because Gideon's very good at using swords, at like swordplay. She's an excellent fighter. So Harrow sort of teams up with Gideon to solve this mystery that's happening on a different planet, because there's other houses, and representatives from each house are called to sort of solve this like murder house mystery. And it's just really good. You get to meet like the other people, like the representatives from the other houses, and they're all different, and they have different sort of powers. So this is definitely like a gothic sci-fi story, but each book follows a very different sort of tone and like genre almost. So like, this one's murder mystery, but the other books are very different. And can I just, Gideon. Gideon and Harrow's relationship is so fun to watch. This is not a romance, so don't go into this expecting like a lot, but there is like the slowest of slow relationships. And Gideon and Harrow just like immediately won my heart. I feel like I've read a decent amount of like sapphic books, both contemporary and fantasy, and sometimes they just like fall flat for me. I don't know why. I feel like I'm just kind of picky with like the dynamic that I read when it's a sapphic pair, and Tamsin Muir gets it right here. Like, she gets it right. I'm like, yes, this is what I want. Give me more of this, please. Yeah, this was an automatic 5 stars. It was so good. I'll shut up about it now, but I highly recommend it. And then the next book I was going to show is one that I actually haven't read yet. It's called In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. I believe this is a queer story set during World War... Is it World War I or World War II? World War I. So, yeah, I've just heard really good things about this book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm anticipating it to be very sad, but very moving and like heart-wrenching. So I've already seen the paperback of this book, and I love the cover of the paperback too, so I kind of want that too. I want that one as well. So hoping to read this and then we'll see if I like it enough to get the paperback as well. So yeah, I just love novels set during World War I just because I haven't read as many books set during the First World War. And so I find it a topic of great interest. I don't know, I'm just always kind of fascinated by the different technology and there had been no real precedent for that scale of a war, I guess. So yeah. So that's this book. It also, I thought I'd feature, this one has deckled edges. And I love, as I've said, I love a book with deckled edges. Okay, so that's the next book. And then the last is actually a little collection of books. And when I say collection, I mean I have different editions of this book. So first I'll show you, let me get this book without everything falling, hopefully. There you go. So this is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I read this book 2 years ago, and to give you a brief context, I guess, to give you brief context, I had tried to read The Night Circus back in 2014. A lot of people love The Night Circus, it's their favorite book. But you know what, hold on. As I was saying, a lot of people love The Night Circus, it's one of their favorite books of all time. So I went in with very high hopes, because I even had a friend highly recommend it. So I started reading it, and I made it halfway through, and there was just such a lack of plot. I just couldn't get into it. The writing was beautiful, don't get me wrong, and the atmosphere and the descriptions were all really pretty and lyrical, but the characters felt very distant from you as the reader, and nothing was really happening. And the funny thing is, I don't really consider myself a plot-based reader. I don't need a fast plot or anything. I love, actually, some of my favorite books have very slow plots. But I don't even know, I made it halfway through The Night Circus, and I was just nothing is happening. It's all pretty words, but I don't feel emotionally connected to any of these people. So I put it down. I tried to read it a couple times after that, and I always got stuck around the halfway point. I'm very sorry if The Night Circus is one of your favorite books. I understand. It's just, I guess it's just a reader book thing, because it just didn't connect with me. Maybe one day I will try again. But anyway, so I wasn't really looking forward to much other of her books, just because I figured I would have the same issue. But then I kept hearing people talk about The Starless Sea and how it was a book about stories, and libraries and that kind of thing. And I was okay, well, now I'm a little interested. I'm not really a circus person, but I sure am a library person. So anyways, I read this book in, I think, 2022 in August, and it blew me away. The characters, it had all of the beautiful descriptions from The Night Circus, but with good characters and a plot that moved. So yeah, I absolutely love this book. We follow a boy who, it's been a while now, a boy who sees these symbols on a wall. I believe it's a key, a sword, and a bee. Yeah, a key, a sword, and a bee. And he runs into this other guy named Dorian, who is part of this sort of secret world, I guess, for lack of a better word. And how our character, whose name is escaping me, Zachary, and how Zachary gets sort of involved in this otherworldly, magical place. And it's a very much a book about stories, but not just like stories as a concept, but like other stories within stories. Like, it's such a beautiful book, and there's like a romantic aspect to it, and it's so good. Like, I've never read another book that made me feel the way that this book made me feel. It's such like a singular experience. Like, I can't imagine any other book being able to accomplish what this book did, and it just like stayed with me. I think about it all the time. It's just like a really beautiful reading experience. So I do highly recommend The Starless Sea, both if you like the Night Circus, and also if you, like me, weren't able to get into the Night Circus. I still recommend giving The Starless Sea a try, because it was so good. And yeah, if you can see, this is the copy I read, so I tabbed lots of places. I guess not that many, because I've seen people with tabs like seriously every page, but this is a fair amount for me, so yeah. So that's the this is the US edition hardcover. I think, let me see if there's anything on the, yeah, if I take off the dust jacket, it has the bee, the key, and the sword. And it has The Starless Sea. I love this book because it looks very classic, like a classic older book. It's The Starless Sea on it. Okay. And then the next book I have is, or the next edition I have, sorry. The next edition I have is this Illumicrate edition, which is just a naked hardcover that has the bee, the key, and the sword on it, on the front as well. I'm not sure if you can see this, but it has very like light blue sprayed pages. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but and then on the back it says, "Be somewhere else for a while." And honestly, like, if you just need to escape life, this will take you somewhere else for a while. And it was just such a special experience. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Yeah, stunning book. And then the last book that I'm going to show you for this part of the video is the Goldsboro edition, which is a UK bookshop. I think I've talked about it before. And this cover is like absolutely stunning. Only 300 of these were made, so this is like one of the most treasured books in my collection, I would say. It has blue sprayed pages, and this is what the back looks like. I'm going to be very careful with it. It has this like patterned in pages. The shadow of the boy. And then if you look inside, actually there's 500 copies. It says this limited edition is one of 500 copies signed by the author, and I have 442. Which I'm happy about, because 4 and 2 are actually two of my favorite numbers. Not that that matters, just thought I'd let you know. And yeah, so this is the final book, the final edition. This is not obviously the copy that I read, because like I would never, like, the idea of bending a page wrong scares me to death. The copy I read is this one. So thank you for watching, and right now I should be transitioning into the vlog. So we're going to start out in the young adult section here, with some YA fantasy. We have Six of Crows, which is one of my very favorite fantasies. Such a good book. Then the Selection series, which I gave like a 3-star. It was okay. Let's see, the Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare. I love The Infernal Devices. It's one of my favorite series of all time. And then we have Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins. This is such an excellent middle grade series. It holds up. Like, I love it so much. We've got some Sarah Dessen books here at the bottom. Even the Darkest Stars, which is the first book in a duology for a YA fantasy that I love. The Gone series by Michael Grant. This series scarred me as a middle schooler, but it's so good. Very gory, definitely horror, but it's so good. We've got Ray Bearer, which is the first book in a young adult fantasy. Such a good duology. I highly recommend it. And then we also have Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This is like an anime in book form. The romance is so good and the plot's really, really fast. It's excellent. And here we have a sapphic fantasy that I enjoyed, but not enough to keep it, sadly. And then We Were Liars, which I'm sure you've heard of. It was okay. Nothing special. The Lunar Chronicles. This is one of my very favorite series of all time. I love the Lunar Chronicles. If you're going to read young adult fantasy, this is some of the top series that I would recommend. Shout out if you watched The 100 Show, because I did, and I also read the first 3 books. Maximum Ride. I was born and raised on Maximum Ride in middle school. I still love that series, even though it fell apart at the end. Here we have some Leigh Bardugo books. I read both of these series, and they're both equally excellent. Laini Taylor just has beautiful writing. And then we have the first book in the Ember and the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. Another excellent series, definitely like a 5 out of 5 for me. And then now we're moving on to the adult sci-fi and fantasy. Let's see. So we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. That's such a good dark academia story, and I love the sequel even more. Here's some books that are on my TBR, so I own them, but I have not read them yet. Some S.A. Chakraborty books. Again, I own these, but have not read them yet. Down here we have Winter's Orbit, which is a sci-fi story, and I believe it's also queer. I own this. Again, haven't read it yet. The Wolf and the Woodsman, Stars and Dime. These are some more TBR books. And then we have Vicious by V.E. Schwab, which is my favorite V.E. Schwab book. I think it's her best book. Tress of the Emerald Sea, which is a Brandon Sanderson standalone, which I enjoyed. And then we have The North Wind, which I just hauled in my last video. Where the Dark Stands Still is a fantasy that I've heard really good things about. Funny Story by Emily Henry. I did just pick this up as well. And we have a sapphic story that I just love the cover of. And then another contemporary story that I've heard good things about that I'm kind of curious about. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a happy June. And I'll see you next time.